Hello, everyone. On behalf of New Readers Press, thank you for joining our webinar today. The webinar will be starting in about 1 minute. We're doing a little sound check here. I saw some questions in chat, so now you know there is audio. We will try to start on time in about 1 minute, and I'll go ahead and answer this question. Probably I'll have to answer it again, but there will be a recording. There will be a slideshow presentation that's sent to you in a follow-up email, along with a certificate of participation. And I will mention too, when we launch the webinar, but I'll go ahead and say it here, that we do have some of the materials that may be referenced during the webinar are published by New Readers Press, and all English language learning materials available from New Readers Press are currently on special. It's our November special. There's a promotion code, November 20th. I'll put more information in the chat later about who you would contact if you wanted to take advantage of that. So I'll be right back. All right. Hello again. Welcome on behalf of New Readers Press. Thank you for joining us today to hear about blending series and standalone adult ESL and citizenship class resources in this new virtual world we're all living in. Our host today is Dr. Mary Petersen. She's from Nebraska, and she's going to be walking you through some of the techniques and strategies that she's utilized during these last several months. I do want to mention that some of the material that she references is published by New Readers Press. We currently have a special for the month of November where all of our English language learning materials are 10% off, and the promotion code for that is November 20, November 20. And I will put more information in chat about how to take advantage of that. So Mary, if you would like to go ahead and share your screen, the floor is yours.
Well, good afternoon. My name is Mary Petersen. I'm from Omaha, Nebraska. And I want to, first of all, just give me a second here. My PowerPoint is being bad. So I'm just going to stop my share for a second. And from the beginning. Okay, first of all, I would like to thank all of you so much for coming today. I'm so excited to visit with you and to find out some things that you're doing with your virtual world classes. And I want to thank New Readers Press as well for inviting me today. I'm really interested in hearing some things that you're doing, so hopefully you'll have a chance to put some ideas in the chat box for us. To
And
give you
Mary,
an idea.
and Mary, you'll need to reshare your screen.
Oh, sorry.
It's okay. Here it comes. I see it now.
Okay. Okay, so can I start again, or should I just keep going?
Just go right ahead.
Okay. I want to give you kind of an idea of our organization and what we're about. We started 14 years ago with traditional classes offered in our office. We started just with ESL classes, and then as the years went on, we also added citizenship to our list. Then we started collaboration with other nonprofits, and we established ESL programs within the community in other locations. And we would provide the materials and the tutor training through some grants that we received. And we also were able to start literacy programs in a school. The parents would go to school in the morning in an elementary school and bring their children for their classes, and then they would stay, the parents would stay until noon. We also did classes in a daycare. One of the fun programs that we were able to establish, we brought our direct instruction to businesses. We worked with hotels, construction companies, electrical, medical. We would provide the teacher and the materials, and in return, the companies would make a contribution to LACSO so that we could continue offering classes in our office as well. And then we had a grant, and we had a designated television program on Cox Cable. It was 24-hour on demand. We provided a series of 30 English classes. We had a series of citizenship classes, and we also had the history of Omaha. We offered that as well. And that, at the time, I didn't know, but it would help to set me up for the virtual classes, which is what we offer at this time. In Omaha, most, if not all, of the adult ESL classes are virtual with all of the different nonprofits. So in this presentation, I want to talk a little bit about using reading resources for adults through the virtual book clubs. And I'll talk about that in just a bit, what a book club and how I present it. When I first started teaching ESL, I was very grammar oriented. And now I have switched it over to using more and more reading resources with a lot of good results. I also am aware that we can have some what I call Zoom fatigue. And so I have gotten into offering standalone classes. And I'll give you an example of one that I used. And hopefully you will give all of us some ideas of others that we can use. And then also I've brought into my classes the coffee breaks. And coffee breaks are just merely 30-minute portions of a class in which I invite somebody to come from the community and to talk to the class, and gives the class an opportunity also to speak with the guest speaker. I like to introduce my classes with a few mindfulness techniques. What we do is we just take a minute or two at the beginning of class, and we just kind of take a deep breath. Everybody's, kind of hurried. They're helping their children with their lessons. And so I found that this is a very good way to start the class. I just finished my certification in mindfulness education. And so this summer I did a mindful workshop virtually with some of my students, and it worked out very, very well. So if any of you would like some techniques to use within your classroom, please contact me. You'll find my information included with this webinar, and I would just love to help you kind of get those students so that they're in that mindset to get ready to learn English. I think that we all have had some problems with trying to place students, trying to measure their progress. And I know I'm a CASAS person that gives tests. I also do Best Plus, and I'm also training to be a trainer of Best Plus testers. However, in this virtual classroom, I have found that one of the placement tools that are in a series called English No Problem, which is put out by New Readers Press. If you would click on this particular resource, you will find that there are many, many free resources and correlations included in this series. I have used this in 2 of the nonprofits which I helped to start programs. I have found it to be very, very tutor friendly. If you're using teachers and tutors who don't have a good background in educational techniques, this particular source is a very, very good source. So if you scroll down underneath free resources, you're going to find this placement tool, and it's called English No Problem. And you can download it, and you can use this with students. You can share your screen, and you can do some placement of your students, and you can also follow their progress through your program. Within my virtual classroom, I use traditional New Readers Press materials. I use several series. Some of them are listed, you can see here. I use the blended approach in that the virtual classroom has really allowed me to feel free to do follow-up calls, to do more emailing and texting. And I also use Remind. It's an app I'm sure you're familiar with that can send an assignment out to your entire class through your text. And the teachers and the tutors like to reinforce any presentation that they do using these emails and texts and follow-up calls. In my classroom, my regular classroom, I always used hardcover books, and we would reuse the copies. But now, because of the virus, we have had to send each student their own personal copy of certain materials that we're using. And it gets to be expensive to do that. And but I find these, especially these novel scenes, to be very, very interesting. And now I found that they also are part of the e-readers or ebooks. So Greg, do you have some information on what this programming with the e-readers looks like?
Oh, yeah. Hi, everyone. It's Greg Stoltz here in Syracuse, New York, New Readers Press headquarters, where it is a sweltering 44 degrees. So, of course, I'm in shorts and a muscle shirt. Yeah, it's a wonderful series. All of Angie Enola's books, for those of you who are familiar with them, they are wonderful. And speaking to the e-readers, currently we have e-readers for her novel scenes. There are 4 books, 4 different levels: an introductory, low beginning, high beginning, and low intermediate. They're terrific. It does not include in the e-readers any of the activities or exercises, but those are things that you can provide for the learners. The big thing is that they have an opportunity to read these wonderful stories. There are illustrations at all levels that help them along. And you can also view these, on our website, just to get a peek as to what they look like on a mobile phone, if you're curious. But they are very affordable and easy to download. The main thing is that you would want to download them to a mobile device that is EPUB reader friendly, and that typically through Chrome or Firefox. But once you get that downloaded, and we send you an email, to get you started and let you know just how to do that. But they are just terrific. One of the best things about the e-readers and all of Ann Gianola's books is that not only is it good reading, but really they're just a great springboard for communication, for conversation, for vocabulary. So that's all I have to say about that.
Okay. And I could see using the hard copy of one of these novel scenes, and maybe the student would have the e-reader, and then perhaps I could use the screen share to share some of the exercises that are already in the novel scenes. And so with that, Dan, could you just briefly talk about copyright and what New Readers Press is doing to help us to get some of these materials in the virtual classroom?
Okay, so yeah, I'll be glad to. As you know, with copyright, our copyright materials, as always, are not to be reproduced according to the laws of copyright. But COVID-19 has been a little different. So we've come up with some COVID-19 response measures, and one of which includes that we are granting permission to schools to make scanned images of our copyrighted print pages for the sole use of displaying them in PowerPoint presentations like this, or through similar presentation means for use in webinars, all for virtual classroom instruction. So it is not permissible to download, to copy and distribute copies to students, but it is permissible to scan and use in this fashion. So in order to get that permission, you just have to send us a question. I will paste that information in the chat box. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, one of the my favorite resources that I'm using from New Readers Press are the American Lives series. This is book 1, 2, and 3. They're level for beginners to more advanced. If you're not familiar with these particular resources, each book has 16 different personalities that have contributed somehow to the United States. And I'm just reading off of, to give you an example, we've got John Adams, we've got Rachel Carson, Cesar Chavez, Jackie Robinson, Sacagawea. And you can, depending on the length of your class, my classes run 1 hour to 1.5 hours. You can easily read about this person. You can there's wonderful exercises. This series also includes the history that's connected of the time period in which this person lives. And I've used this series with breakout room discussion. There's YouTubes it seems for each one of these people. There's maps and puzzles and cloze activities, images. I've also used Enchanted Learning activities, if you're familiar with that website, which is for the beginning and kind of the early intermediate student. It's based on elementary activities, which work in beautifully with this. And for writing exercises, I have discovered that chat box for short writing exercises, as opposed to just sharing the screen and having students individually give their sentences, chat box is great. And what I do is, since it's always saved, I can go back in and I can make corrections. And then after class, I can send the whole class the corrected sentences. So that has worked out really, really well for me. Again, just showing you some of the, as I move into the reading resources, I love the value of reading in adult ESL classes because I think learners can begin to feel and hear the language that they're studying. And also that they can see and hear the grammar and the spelling. And reading aloud is great for pronunciation. I can't tell you how my students' pronunciation has improved from the beginning of our classes, which started about the end of August, until this point, because we read aloud in every classroom and class period, and it's just really strengthened pronunciation. I would like to mention, if you are interested in starting a citizenship class, or if you are currently teaching a citizenship class, Readers Press, the civics and literacy, I teach the test, the 100 question test of the whole process, and you cannot find a better resource. The questions are presented through historical facts and very clearly stated. But here again, I have found that the step into reading is a very, very important resource. These can be included with the chapters that the citizenship book includes. And what I do is I can't send all the books that I would like to send, but I send the ones that I think are most important for the concepts. And it really depends on the class and the difficulty that they're having with certain concepts in the citizenship class. For example, Lewis and Clark can be a little bit difficult. So this Lewis and Clark book is great. And I also find that some citizenship students have very good speaking and listening skills, but their reading and writing is difficult. So these books help me to provide more writing experiences for them, which helps them during the test. One of the things that I have started, and I call it the virtual book club. And book club in my classes meets every Tuesday. And I first started it in May, just to kind of see where it would go with a pretty high intermediate group. And we did this house on Mango Street is where we started. And it just went really, really well. But I wanted to get a nice midpoint book that adults could read, and that even your high readers and maybe your low readers, they would fit in well. So I discovered this Who Was, Who Is series. It's available on Amazon, and it's important that you know, if you are a Prime member, Amazon will deliver these books free to each student's home. And I found this to be a great resource. You can see some of the books that are there. There are other titles like Rosa Parks, Who is Pele, Michael Jordan, Princess Diana. Right now we are reading Oprah, which is an interesting book. These, just so to give you kind of an idea of the prices, you can find some of them for like $2.99, and then the more popular, recent, current, like Oprah, was $5.99. But then those go on sale as well. And what I do is I send each student a copy of the book. It becomes their book. They can mark in it if they want. They can pick out the vocabulary that they want. And then we read the book aloud together and discuss it, and then do other exercises. And just from the titles that I've included here, I'm sure you can imagine there are just a wealth of YouTubes. I try to pick really short ones, like maybe 3 minutes or 4 minutes. And then if there's a longer one that I would like them to watch, I just copy and paste the address and send them an email. And that's worked out very, very well. So how to alleviate Zoom fatigue. I hope none of you on this beautiful afternoon here in Omaha, Nebraska are feeling that. So I'm going to give you an example of one of the standalone classes that I've done. I have found that virtually it's really important to change up. You need to have a series that you're following. You need to be consistent with that. But after 10 or 12 or 15 lessons, it's kind of nice to just do a standalone class. And one of the standalone classes, which I did, was how to properly wear a mask. And since this is very timely, and because this is a very short video, I'd like to show it to you today. Here in Omaha, we have a resurgence of the virus, and we have a mask mandate. And so it's been extended to the end of February. And so this was very, very helpful for students, and I hope that you will find it helpful as well.
Hi, my name is Christopher Harris. I am an infection prevention specialist at UT Physicians. Assisting me today is Jeff Lindsay. He is a nurse with UT Physicians as well. Today we're going to be going over donning and doffing, or putting on and taking off face masks. Jeff, take it away.
So always perform hand hygiene before donning any PPE. If you have any questions about hand hygiene, please see the related video. Orient the mask so that the stiff edge is facing upwards. Make sure that the front of the mask is facing away from you. The inside of the mask is usually white. Place the mask on your face and secure the elastic bands around your ears or ties around the middle of your head and neck. Pinch the stiff edge around your nose. Adjust the mask to fit your face and below the chin. When using a mask, do not touch the front as it is contaminated. If you touch the front of the mask accidentally, please perform hand hygiene. Your mask must stay on your nose and mouth.
Do not do this. And do not do this.
Replace the mask when it becomes moist with respirations, and do not attempt to disinfect the mask. For doffing a face mask, do not touch the front of the mask as it is contaminated. If you touch the front of the mask accidentally, please perform hand hygiene. Remove the elastic band from around your ears. If you have ties, remove the lower or neck tie first, then the top or middle of the head tie second. Holding the elastic band or ties, remove the mask from your face. Dispose of the mask. And perform hand hygiene.
Okay, so once I saw this this video, I just became very, very aware of the correct wearing of the mask, and kind of judgy when I saw other people and how they were wearing their masks. So at the end of this video, we did a practice in sequencing, which I find very important for ESL students. We wrote down the different steps of correctly wearing a mask and the sanitation, etc., that goes along with it. And then the students read those sentences, and then we did some modeling, and then we also, one student would model, the other student would talk about the different steps. So it turned out to be a great class, and one which was very, very beneficial to the students. And at the a couple days later, I did receive in the mail a mask that one of my students had made for me, a cloth mask. Okay.
And may I, you asked me to remind you and make sure
Okay.
at this point that you wanted to talk about their ideas for standalone class. And there's also a question in chat. I said I'd monitor chat for you.
Okay.
I can't answer this one. The question is, when you say you read books together in class, do you really mean that all students and teachers read in unison? How do you handle that?
We take turns, and I'm part of the class. I read as well. So where everybody has a turn, everybody takes a paragraph or maybe 2 paragraphs, depending. We don't read in unison, where we read separately. Okay. All right, so now, and thank you for reminding me of that. This is an example of a standalone class that I did. Do you have any ideas that you would like to share with us about other standalone classes that you could just kind of break in? They have nothing actually to do with the series that you're doing or the lessons that you're doing, but they just kind of pull us apart for a little bit and give us some information that we can share together as a class. So if you have any ideas, and Dan, if there are some ideas, do you want to share them now, or should we wait till?
Sure. Somebody says a cooking class might be a good one.
Okay.
One is saying TED Talk Tuesdays. Someone else is mentioning holidays.
Okay.
In Pennsylvania, they had a class about getting flu shots. Now I'm getting too many. Thanksgiving holidays. A standalone class about how to use Zoom. Okay, so now a culture, show a video of CNN heroes, make a thread of what you're thankful for Thanksgiving, job interview. How's that?
It's great. You guys are awesome. That's wonderful.
Okay.
Okay, so going along that same kind of thinking, each one of our students is part of a container. They're part of our classroom, but they have a home and they have a family. And I want to think about taking that situation of each student, each home, and really expanding on it and giving students the opportunities to share with us their homes if they choose to do that, or their family members. So I'm encouraging students to show examples from their homeland, and that could be flags, it could be pottery, it could be foods, and participants can make a recipe in a virtual class. And I am thinking, we haven't done this yet, but I am thinking in December, I will have Mary's Kitchen, and my 101-year-old aunt has finally shared how to make pepper jelly, the family recipe. And so I would, and it's really much easier than what I thought. So I would make this in Mary's Kitchen, and I would invite other participants, maybe in the following months, if they would like to make a recipe from their homelands. That would be wonderful. And I'm thinking it would be such a good exercise in measurements and directions and sequencing again. And then if it would be something like a casserole, if they put it in their oven, and we could go on with our class. And then at the end, the participant could show us what it looks like, and they'd have their lunch or their dinner for their family right there. And then also they have lots of pictures that they could share. And I'm thinking also dancing could be a part of what they like to share. So just kind of opening up and using that wonderful resource of each participant's home in the virtual classroom, I think is a great asset. And as we all know, we get lots of family members in our virtual classrooms, and sometimes it's nice, and sometimes I know my cat has walked, when I've worked from home, they've walked across the screen. My dog has barked. We've had some babies come to our classes. So why not just plan an introduction, have a family member day, and just allow students to just talk about their families and their children and their pets, and let them participate. I know I have a student who works with her husband, and they always are driving to a work site, and the husband is just kind of driving the car, but he's part of our class as well. When class starts at 9 o'clock, she's has signed in, and he's working, and so she's there for the class, and then she's off to help him. So I look at this as the virtual classroom is giving some opportunities to students who might not have had the opportunity to go to an ESL class. So another idea that I've had to add interest to long hours at the virtual class is to take a coffee break. And what I mean by a coffee break is I invite somebody from the community for a short amount of time to come to a class, to one of our classes. And there's no need for this guest to leave the office to find a parking spot or to leave home. No guest drive time at all. And it's an opportunity to reach out to other nonprofits and to the community in general. And I will show you in a bit some coffee breaks I've had. Okay, things to remember if you want to do a coffee break. You have your regular classroom, but your regular class time, your regular lesson, but you're just going to take 30 minutes of it and you're going to invite somebody. And what I do is I set a timer. So I'm sure to be aware of my guest's time. And when it goes off, then the coffee break is over. And I ask members of the class, tell me who you would like me to invite. And then a day or the class time before the person is going to come, I elicit some questions that they would like to ask from the guest. And I also make some questions myself, because I found that maybe after 15 minutes, the guest has kind of told everything that they want to tell. And so the students, it's time for the students to ask some questions to kind of keep that 30 minutes going. Who do you invite to your coffee break? I'm going to show you 2 short clips, board members. So I always invite board members to our Christmas party. I always invite them to the end of the year when we have give out certificates, but I never thought about inviting them to a class. And so that's what I've done. And it's just been so wonderful for my students to see the board members and to appreciate the things that they've done for our organization. Community leaders, ESL class from another nonprofit. This is on my radar to do in the spring, is to have a coffee break with another nonprofit here in Omaha. We have a beautiful zoo here. So I'm thinking maybe in February, having a visitor from the zoo, and perhaps they could show us some of the animals that are hibernating there. College representatives, HR representatives, local media representatives. So many of us are looking for ways to fundraise, and how wonderful to have a clip of maybe a local TV personality or a radio personality that you can use when you're doing your fundraising. And perhaps even somebody from another community or another state or a country. I know some of my students Skype with their parents or grandparents in another country, and perhaps this would be a way for you to think about inviting somebody to the coffee break. So I know that because I am here in Omaha, I have a great amount of health organizations that are available to me. And I have had 3 reach outs from different organizations that want to work with the vulnerable populations in our community. And they have reached out and wanted to do some health related classes with me. And this has led me to find this health series, which one of my tutors is using. She's starting with the first series with a beginning student. And when I looked through the different topics, I came up with some ideas that I could use with Sarah and Sarah's project. Sarah reached out to me. She's a physician's assistant. She's studying to be a physician assistant. She currently works in the emergency room, and she was frustrated when people would come and there was a language barrier and they didn't know certain health histories. They didn't know anything about their vaccinations. They didn't know, they couldn't remember their pharmacy or their doctor. And so she and I worked together and we came up with a questionnaire. And I'm just going to show you this right now, but this is also included with some of the resources that I gave to Dan. And this is actually just part of one of the coffee breaks that we did. Sarah was our guest, and she and I worked on this health history. And we would be thrilled if you would consider perhaps doing a class with your students. Sarah came, we did the 30 minutes, and then when she left, we worked out the health histories. Each student was able to view this and write down their health history. And then I sent, after class, I emailed them this resource, and then they were able to use this to fill it out for their other family members. So again, this is just 3 minutes of her 30-minute coffee break. And you will understand that we have a guest, we have a baby that makes her presence known in this clip, but here we go. Whoops.
So number one, allergies to medications. Sarah, do you want to tell us a little bit about this?
Sure. So this question would be important to know so that we would know if we were giving you something that you were allergic to that could create a bigger problem. So knowing any allergies to medications or reactions that you've had in the past, or that the doctors have told you not to take a certain medication for certain reasons, that's really important for us to know.
Sarah, how important is it to have a family doctor or to have your own personal physician?
It's very important because you can connect with that person, that doctor, that nurse practitioner or physician's assistant. They can be a good contact if you've got something simple going on that you could just call, or even they could be somebody that you take this health history form to, and they can help you fill it out so that you know that it's, your information is all correct.
Sarah, do you want to just give a comment about how important it is to list all the medications and all the supplements that you take?
Sure. So it's really important for us to know when you come in what medications you've taken, that you're taking routinely, not only because we don't want to double dose you with something potentially, but the interactions that some medications can have, especially the supplements. There are some supplements that can increase your bleeding risk. And so that's important to know, especially if you're going to the emergency room for a trauma or something like that. We just want to make sure that we don't make your problem worse.
And then the last one, important cultural preferences for healthcare team to know. Sarah, we were talking about this earlier. You had some really good points. Do you want to share that with the class?
Sure. So if you come into the hospital and you have certain things that maybe you're not maybe thinking about, like, would you want a blood transfusion? Some people are would not want that because of maybe their religious beliefs or something like that. Also, we would want to know if maybe you don't want a male nurse or a female nurse or a female provider. Sometimes gender can be an issue. Or there are some medications that have certain products in them that people don't necessarily want to ingest. And so that's important to know so that we don't give you something that maybe you you don't know that you're getting or that you don't want. And also, we've had a lot of people that have food preferences that maybe we don't, we need to accommodate. And so those are all important things for your healthcare team to know.
Okay, and then to give you kind of an idea of some of the questions that they asked Sarah, how important is it to use the same drugstore? Which pharmacy is best in Omaha? That was interesting. If there's going to be a translator at the hospital, why do I need to know this information? If I'm in the hospital with many doctors, why do you need to know the name and phone of my doctor? How important is it to have your own doctor? Can I just go to the emergency room or a general clinic? I don't take any medications, and why is it important to know about the supplements I take? I got a flu shot and I got sick. Why? Why are emergency contacts important? When I come to the emergency room, will the medical staff really honor my culture? And I have diabetes, but I don't take any medications. Should I tell the medical staff? Very, very interesting class, very, very interesting discussion with Sarah. And now the next person is Lida. Again, from her 30 minutes, I just took 2 minutes. Lida is my board president. She's here from Colombia. She's lived here for, 20 years. And she has a tax and an insurance company, which she started herself here in South Omaha.
I started my business in taxes. I do taxes too, additional to the insurance company. When I got here, I started working for a person doing taxes, and after 2 years, I started my own business.
Were you afraid? To do that?
Yeah, because taxes is a very hard work, has many things. And anyway, when I started my own business, I studied more about taxes. My business is called Ortega Tax Service. We are located on 24.
So what made you go into insurance as well as taxes? And
because in taxes, that is something that is just season. It's a season. I know that I have to study more because I don't feel very comfortable in all the situation. But has been the hard part for me because despite the license that I have, I had to take the test in English. I'm very good to read and write, but sometimes to hear my listening is not very good. That has been my problem. But anyway, I'm here.
I love the ending because I think it's just perfect for her. Some questions that they asked Lida. Did you start your business or did you buy it? And she did start it, which I did not know. I've known her for many years. Were you afraid? What was the hardest part of coming here and starting your business? It just reinforced to the students again how important language is and how studying a second language, it's a process. It's a lifelong process. I know with my Spanish, it's just something I wish I could be more fluent at, and I just have to keep working on it. Do you offer your services to only Spanish speaking? She made it very clear, no, she will take anybody. What's your most popular insurance? And it's car insurance for her. And do you think about returning to Colombia? She now has daughters who are young adults. So I'm thinking she's pretty well put her roots here. Okay, I'm kind of quickly going through these because I see the time. Another person is Sonia, and Sonia is another board member. And I think Sonia and I were before our time because she's been a board member for many years. She's an accountant and she's been so helpful with budgets. And so she decided to move from Omaha to Miami. And I said, oh, Sonia, I just can't lose you. And so we've been doing virtual board meetings for the last 2 years. So here's just a little portion of the coffee break that we did with Sonia. Oops, went the wrong way.
I came to Omaha, Nebraska at the end in September of 2001. I had the opportunity to go to Metropolitan Community College, to take some English classes and have enrollment. And I had enrolled to the business classes there. My background is in accounting. I used to be a CPA back there in Lima, Peru. And when I came to the States, that was so amazing. I went to Metropolitan Community College, I took the test, and I was like almost the highest level, but I had a problem. I say, why I can understand the people? Because, you know, at that time, there was no YouTube. It was really hard to have a good communication in English, to see people talking in English. So back there in Peru, the English teachers were people who speak English as a second language. So everybody had the same kind of accent. So when I came to Nebraska, I was like, oh my gosh, I don't understand. But that is always there is room for improvement. Sometimes I was speaking English and people say, sorry, I don't speak Spanish. I say, well, I was speaking in English. So after I had the experience with H&R Block, even as a manager, so I feel confident that try to start my own business. Even though I always speak Spanish with my family, I always speak Spanish with everybody. In Metropolitan Community College, I had the opportunity to get to know people from international students from different places, from Vietnam, and I get to know different cultures, and that is really exciting. It was amazing. It was very amazing. Of course, I was not. It was not myself. I was with a very, very good friend from Colombia too, and she has very good English. And we start doing, besides taxes or accounting for small businesses, we were doing also translations, interpretations. So that was very interesting. Now I am an independent contractor for Goodwill. You know Goodwill?
Yeah.
So here is different. Here is not Catholic Charities, it's Goodwill. The one that they have classes and workshops, and the classes are like 8 weeks. And the idea is that you have your feasibility plan. So before launching your business, before you spend money in different things, and then you're surprised, how are you spending so much money? Before that, you have to have a view, a plan, what it's all about, what is your business, what is your industry. You get to know everything about your industry, who are your competitors, what is your differentiation, what is going to be your business model, what is going to be your budget, because you have to plan.
Okay, so that was a very interesting coffee break for the class. And some of the questions that they asked her, what was your biggest challenge coming from Peru to Omaha? Once again, she just reinforced that concept of language being so really, really important to success. How did you start your first business? Was it easier with a business partner? Did you have non-Spanish speaking clients? She, again, took anybody. She was so excited to have clients. Are there more challenges in Miami? And you help people start new businesses through Goodwill. How difficult is it to start a new business with the virus, or is it even possible? And Sonia was very positive. She said that she has helped many people in Miami start their business, and they're successful so far, depending on how and where this virus goes, that it is possible. Okay, so now in your chat box, if you could and think of somebody that you would like to invite to your coffee break, who would that be? And Dan, if you want to share some of those with us.
I will. And I have a couple of questions for you that were in chat that I can't answer. One question was, how many students do you have in a Zoom class?
Our students, generally, we have 12 to 15.
Okay, and another question was whether or not you'd be willing to share the links to all of your videos.
Sure.
Okay, I can get that from you later.
Okay.
So people are saying, I would love to have our board for our organization come to speak to the class.
Okay.
So, someone from the community college to come and getting a GED. My neighbor would be a great coffee break.
Yes, yes.
A local pediatric dentist.
Mm.
Let's see, people from the local school district, and link together lower level and higher level proficiency students for conversation practice.
Good.
In here as well. Also members of the student leadership group, retired teachers, chancellors, someone from a local bank to talk about financial literacy.
There you go.
There's
great ideas.
And police.
Ah, very good. Okay, so that kind of brings me to the end of my presentation. So if there's any discussion by anybody else, or Dan or Greg, does anybody else want to contribute something?
Let's see. He also asked, how long are your Zoom classes?
Okay.
And the chat is scrolling, so I'm going to try to keep up with these questions. But that was the first one.
Okay, how long are the Zoom classes? I started with 2 hours and I found that too long. So I have them, some of my classes are 1 hour and some an hour and a half.
Okay, yeah, and somebody here says they meet for 90 minutes twice a week.
Oh, I'm sorry, yeah, twice a week.
And let's see. Oh, some people are still suggesting coffee break guests, like a dietitian.
Ooh.
And to share their background, this would be an tutors. This would be a great opportunity for them to meet students and share their backgrounds.
Mm-hmm.
How do we get more interest in ESL classes?
How do we get more interest in them? I am getting calls all the time, and I think it's the Facebook, announcing your classes on Facebook, and also we have a web page, and I'm finding that once you get one or two from a neighborhood or from a certain church or ethnicity, they just, once they come and they enjoy it, they invite, their friends to come too. So I'm just thinking, just always keeping your face out there in the public, and kind of that you build it, they will come.
There's a question about that health history page you had up earlier, and they're wondering if they could get the PDF of that.
Yes. I think I gave you a copy, correct, Dan? Did I send it?
I'm not sure. I know I have the presentation. I don't know about.
I think so. Okay, if not, I can resend it.
Okay, and somebody says, with so many students participating virtually like this, what devices are they using that are working best?
I am finding just a laptop computer is working best. I know some here in Omaha, each child in Omaha Public Schools receives their own computer. So therefore their own iPad. And so I'm very blessed that way. And since they are doing virtual and then they are also doing in school, it's just working out very well for me. I'm finding some of my students use a phone, but it's just not as good, I don't think, but it's better than nothing. So yeah, I'm just blessed here that every student has. And that means if you have 3 children in your class, in your family, or 5, each student receives an iPad, and their
Okay.
parents use them.
A couple of other suggestions about coffee breaks. One was to invite the mayor of the city. One is to invite an immigration officer. And one person said, ask your students and listen to their,
Mhm.
sometimes their motivation to learn English is highly connected to their personal and career goals. So that
Mhm.
can help.
Excellent.
Let's see, somebody else asked about technology, but you just addressed that. Um, Somebody else is talking about how attendance has dwindled down quite a lot lately. Somebody said, do you meet with students before joining the Zoom classes, since the language for ESL could be a barrier at the beginning?
Do I like to place them? Yes.
Okay.
I send them out a Zoom invite, and then I get to kind of meet them before and evaluate them and decide which class that they belong in.
Rachel asks, she says, interest is not a problem, but consistent attendance is. Do you have any suggestions?
You know, I have found this to be so much better for attendance, because I always used to get, I can't come, my child is sick, I can't come, I don't have a car, and we just don't kind of have those excuses anymore. I mean, I know it's not 100% attendance, but I am finding it to be more consistent, actually, in the virtual classroom.
And at some point here, our time's going to be up, but I will keep talking until we get these questions answered, and understand if people have to go. But somebody wants to know, in terms of those classes, how do you group different levels of students?
We just have different class levels.
Okay, so you do
We
and offer different classes for the different levels. Okay.
right.
You said regarding the coffee breaks, what kind of class preparation, vocabulary, etc., do you do before a coffee break visitor speaks to your class?
Okay, it depends on the profession that I'm going to ask. For example, when I had Sarah come and I already knew the 10 points that she was going to cover, I could work with that vocabulary the class period before. But if you're going to invite like your neighbor, or you just really don't know what that vocabulary is going to include. So maybe I'm thinking, if you did a class with them, maybe just having a short visit with that person before, and then writing down some vocabulary, so that the intermediates are pretty good about being able to follow. But if you're going to do this with a beginner class, they need some background, I think, to really make it worthwhile for the class.
Okay. A question about expenses. How do you cover them? Or do you have students pay for classes, or do you have grants?
No, we are very blessed in that we have a private donor who helps us with the rent, and we provide all the materials. We have fundraisers in which here in Omaha, and we've gotten money to pay for our expenses that way, but we never charge. And again, we're really blessed in that way. And anytime you give students materials that they can use in their homes, that they're using it, that their children are using it. So I always figure it's a book with 2 folds.
And somebody said that your coffee breaks sort of seemed like high intermediate, or at least the examples we saw. Do you have them for beginner students?
I have not yet. I'm still feeling out the best way to do this, but I think if you could do it for a beginner, if you had someone that you could kind of coach before and say, talking slowly, using, simple vocabulary, I think it's doable.
And somebody wants to know, do you ever meet with students in person right now to evaluate?
No, we do not.
And somebody else wants to know, do you use Google Classroom for materials or anything like that?
I do not.
Okay. I think there are a lot of thank yous on here. Here's one. How do you level your classes and what levels? Like the NRS levels, beginning, low intermediate, high intermediate, etc. Yeah, I'll stop there.
Okay. As I said, in the past, we used CASAS, we used Best Plus. And so those, since I have students who've been with me for a while, I use that as kind of the basis. But again, if people would take a look at that resource that I pointed out today, that will also help level students. And in this virtual world, it's wonderful.
I did put a link to that resource in the chat.
Okay.
And I will be sending the chat. Somebody else, lots of people wanted to know, are we sending a video, follow-up resources? Yes, I will. The questions are winding down. Do your classes meet daily? What's the frequency?
Okay. Classes meet twice a week. Our book club meets once a week. We now have a GED class that meets once a week. I guess that's it.
Okay, and somebody wanted to know about a certificate of participation, and yes, that will be part of the email that is sent out probably by Monday. And then I think most of everything else consists of about 60 thank yous.
Oh, thank you.
There is one about other supplements. You use other supplements, Quizlet, quizzes, etc. And when I say quizzes, I mean QU. I mean like a digital quiz app.
I do not. I use materials from Enchanted Learning, but those are more or less like the worksheet type of things that we do and we screen share.
Okay. Hey, I think we've covered all of the questions. There are tons of thank yous. Seems like people really enjoyed your presentation, the ideas that you shared. And here at New Readers Press, we really appreciate your taking time to share with everyone. And wait, there is a Q&A box. I'll click on it real quick. And there's just a question about a certificate. And I've already mentioned that, yes, we will be sending one. So this concludes our webinar. Thank you, everyone who attended. Thank you, Greg.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Dr. Mary Petersen.
Thank you.